In this chapter, we will explore biodiversity and learn about its status nowadays. We will start by defining biodiversity, then learning about the number of existing species. We will explore the latest assessment about the status and trends, the main threat it faces, why it is important for us, and finally, what can be done to improve the situation. So first, let's just clarify what we mean by biodiversity. Biodiversity refers to all variety of life that can be found on Earth. Plants, animals, fungi and microorganisms, as well as the communities that they form and the habitats where they live. It's the shortened form of two words, biological and diversity. And in Article 2, the Convention on Biological Diversity, a United Nations treaty, gives a formal definition of biodiversity that is often used. Biological diversity is often understood at three levels. Species diversity, referring to the variety of species, animals, plants, fungi and microorganisms. Genetic diversity, corresponding to the variety of genes contained in this organism. And ecosystem diversity, referring to all the different habitats that exist, like forests, deserts, wetlands, coral reefs, etc. Now let's analyze how much biodiversity is in our planet. Researchers estimate that there are about 8.7 million species globally. However, we have barely scratched the surface. Science has only described 1.2 million species or so insofar. Some studies estimate that we have yet to discover around 86% of the species on Earth and 91% in the ocean. So if you ever wanted to discover a new species, you should plan your next trip to tropical rainforests or to the deep ocean, or actually you don't need to move because much of this undiscovered life is likely to be in these places or hidden in the soil. But now let's focus on what we know. 1.2 million species. How are all these species doing? As per today, only a few of these species has been assessed. There are several assessments and different levels, international, multi-country, national level, or focusing on different species groups. For example, we have the IUCN Red List of Threatened Species, the IUCN Red List Index, the Living Planet Index, or the IBIS Global Assessment Report. The IUCN Red List of Threatened Species is considered the most comprehensive international information source on the global extinction risk for species, and is a critical indicator of the health of the world biodiversity, which is used by most assessments worldwide. Today, it has assessed 120,000 species, which is about 10% of the known species. And as per data from November 2020, from the total assessed species in the Red List, 32,000 species, which is almost a third of assessed species, are threatened with extinction. Based on data from the IUCN Red List, the Red List Index shows us how likely a species or group of species could survive over time. A Red List Index value of 1 equates to all species qualifying as least concern, which means not expected to become extinct in the near future. An index value of 0, however, equates to species having gone extinct. So a decline such as the coral line shows in this graph indicates that these species groups are being driving towards extinction at an accelerating rate. If the rate of biodiversity loss were reducing, the index could show an upward trend. But as you can see in this graph, none of this group of species are in that scenario. The Living Planet Index is mainly focused on population trends of mammals, birds, fish, amphibians, and reptiles. And it's another tool to measure biodiversity. In the 2020 report, the Living Planet Index shows how this population have declined 68% since 1970. And we can see in this graph how this trend is observed almost worldwide. The IBIS Global assessments are mostly based on IUCN Red List data. And as you can see in this chart, extracted from the 2020 Global Assessment Report, it's possible to see how the global extinction risk in different species groups have alarming percentage, especially in amphibians and cycads. The most threatened group, cycads, are plants that have been growing on our planet for over 250 million years. And who would have thought that plants that had managed to survive ice age, asteroids, and been munched on by dinosaurs are now threatened by habitat degradation and poaching, just to embellish our gardens. According to the IUCN Red List, the imperial species are mainly threatened by habitat loss due to agriculture and aquaculture practices. Also, urban development, deforestation, and invasive species and pests. So we have seen how species are declining at alarming rates due to different factors. And what? As species come and go, and extinction is a natural process. Indeed, but not at this rate. Studies have compared the current extinction rate with what would be expected from the fossil record and have concluded that the loss of species since 1970 is accelerated in a dramatic and serious way. Today, the loss of species now classed as critical endangered could propel the world into a 6th mass extinction. So what? Too bad. Oh, sorry. What would be interested in saving a creature such as this one? Some may say. This is the naked mole rat, and is the living rodent on Earth up to 37 years. And it turns out that it has an exceptional resistance to cancer. Turns out that this animal immune system, the result of millions of years of genetic evolution, could maybe help us find a cure to cancer. On Earth, each species has evolved over millions of years and has adapted to survive its own way. Every time we lose one of them, due to human pressures, we lose a heritage of 4 billion years of nature's evolutionary wisdom. The current situation can be compared as an immense library with millions of books. And each day, hundreds of books disappear, and we didn't even have time to read the title of these books. This genetic loss is irreversible and is a huge loss of opportunity for humanity. Besides the intrinsic value of nature, the reality is that biodiversity is also essential for human well-being. Morphine, corticoids, antibiotics, up to 50% of the approved drugs are derived from plants. All food systems depend on biodiversity and on a broad range of ecosystem services that support agricultural productivity. For example, bees with pollination, or spiders and other insects for pest control. And these are just examples. The list of benefits that we can get for free from nature are countless. The TIP study is trying to estimate the economic value of biodiversity contribution to people. And for example, it's estimated that for an annual investment of $45 billion into protected areas alone, the delivery of ecosystem services worth some $5 trillion a year could be secured. Well, so what we can do? Since 1993, conservation efforts have saved up 48 mammals and bird species from extinction. Without such interventions, extinction rates for mammals and birds over the past 27 years would be 3 to 4 times higher. But we need more efforts. The Global Biodiversity Outlook 5, published in September 2020, an interesting graph with various areas of actions that in combination could bend the curve and halt this biodiversity decline. These actions are, from bottom to top. First, enhance conservation and restoration of ecosystem. Second, climate change mitigation. Third, reduce other drivers such as pollution, invasive alien species, and overexploitation. Fourth, more sustainable production of goods and services, especially food. And fifth, reduce consumption and waste. None of these areas of action alone, nor in partial combination, can bend the curve of biodiversity loss. The effectiveness of each area of action is enhanced by the other areas, but they all require a collective effort. In 2020, the world has faced a pandemic that, interestingly, is related to biodiversity. We know that there are many more waves to come. And our current trajectory, biodiversity, and the absolutely essential services it provides to humanity is projected to decline, jeopardizing the delicate balance of our common home, the Earth. With the assessment and the data that we currently have, we cannot look the other way anymore. We have been warned. But the good news is that we are still on time to bend the curve and reduce this decline as its consequence.